peaceful up here.
I'm not so good with being online.
This internet is not so ugly after all. I'm sorry to see it end.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, if people don't go to patreon.com/Wassescast Productions, we will tear the internet apart, piece by piece. It'll be a turd in the...
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Sorry.
They get bonus episodes, early access, exclusive shows. We don't need to break the internet or anything. Just tell them the benefits for supporting us.
Fine. Patreon.com/Wassescast Productions. Be there or be a loser. How's that?
Better. Enjoy the show. Time to unleash some carnage. Huh? Oh, not this time? Fine. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast who've successfully bonded with our symbiotes. Yes, I've made that joke before, but this didn't give me a lot of fresh material to work with. Boom! Shots fired. I am your host, AJ Wassess Cassidy, and I'm joined by Riot Metters.
Yes, I am in fact a riot.
You can follow us on multiple platforms of choice. I think we should be getting on iHeartRadio here really soon, actually.
Ooh, damn. Nice.
Yep. And I've discovered the way to get on Spotify and a few other things. They require us to change our account holding on the current platform we're using, which is fine. It actually is the exact same payment, but because of weird corporate changeover shenanigans, we still have to re-up with the new plan or something. So I'm waiting until the end of the month because it's all upfront payment instead of monthly, which is not helpful now. Long story short, expect some additional... I guess by the time this comes out, we should be on those platforms, but if you have not caught up with us, April, hey, that's when we're going to be switching to more platforms, hopefully. Until then, Peepa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Also follow us on Patreon, YouTube. You can also go to Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook to reach out to us directly and tell us which symbiote you want and why. Because I can't tell them apart just by looking at them until they're on the person. So you tell me why you think this pile of goo is better than the other one. I want to know. Ryan, if they want to email us that same answer, where can they email us at?
They can email us at, we call them symbiotes. No, you fucking don't! Excuse me. evacstation@gmail.com.
That was great. What's funny is when I watched this, I don't remember anyone saying symbiote. I heard symbiosis, but symbiote was never actually said from what I read.
That's because they fixed the fucking editing. They edited the audio. So because they had so much backlash over symbiotes, they fucking changed it when they released it on DVD and Blu-ray.
I love and hate the world of editing movies from fan backlash. I get it. If there's a mistake, it should be fixed. But it's one of those things where I almost want the mistakes to stay in so we could just see how glaringly bad it was going to be.
You think they should have more artistic integrity in their poor choices?
Fuck yeah. Give me symbiotes and Sonic's fucked up teeth. Let's do this.
Fucking symbiotes. Get out. Ugh.
As you guys may have guessed, we once again step into the tangled webs of Spider-Man... Venom? Okay, whatever. Released in 2018 and directed by Ruben Fleischer? Fleischer?
I think it's Fleischer.
I think so, too. Written by Jeff Pinkner, Scott Rosenberg, and Kelly Marcel. It took in roughly $856 million in the box office, which is over 8 times what it cost. Fuck, you guys didn't get this money to Spider-Verse? What the fuck is wrong with you fucking Philistines?
I think it's Tom Hardy, man. It's Tom Hardy.
I know. I know. Fucking Philistines. The cast includes, as Ryan already mentioned, Tom Hardy, the next candidate for Wolverine probably, as well as Woody Harrelson, Peggy Lou, Jenny Slate, Reed Scott, Scott Hayes, Riz Ahmed, and Michelle Williams.
Indeed.
I remember when we watched this movie, and Amanda called out Michelle Williams after she, broke up with Eddie. And she's like, she'll be back. And I'm like, what do you make you say that? She's like, because she's Michelle Williams. You're not going to pay an actor that big to be in this movie for 10 seconds.
Yep, she'd be really good at CinemaSins. I mean, shouts out to CinemaSins.
I just gotta give a shout out to Amanda. She's just gotten really like into like commenting on movies with me. Like I thought it would annoy her if I kept doing it for the rest of my life, and she's just gotten into it with me. Like it's great.
That's great. Fantastic. See, now it can be a couple's pastime.
We got some awards. This would be actually 1 and 3. A Golden Angel Award for the Chinese American Film Festival for Most Popular U.S. Film in China.
What? I'm sorry, keep going.
A Golden Carp Award from the Faroe Island Film Festival for Tom Hardy as their favorite actor.
That makes perfect sense.
That's fair. He should have gotten it for Mad Max Fury Road, but I'll take it here. And a Taurus Stunt Award for Best Work with a Vehicle.
Huh.
I'm going to guess the motorcycle scene is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good for a stunt. So yeah, let's bounce over to some fun facts.
Indeed. I have 3 for you this evening. First off, Tom Hardy recorded his lines for Venom symbiote. Fuck me, I literally almost said symbiote. Oh my god. He recorded his lines for Venom during pre-production, and they were played back to the actor through an earpiece on set where Brock and the symbiote would be talking to each other. So it's a fun bit of like acting off of yourself that I love.
It's really cool, actually. It's a good effect.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, next up, Tom Hardy's son, Louis Thomas Hardy, is a fan of Venom, and Hardy took the role to please him. So I wanted to do something my son could watch. So I did something where I bite people's heads off. Yeah, that's A+ parenting. I love it. Louis also guided his father on how to appropriately portray Brock/Venom, since Hardy didn't know the character very well.
That's cool. That's cool.
Like that's cool. That is interesting. That is definitely interesting. All right. Last but not least, the prison that Eddie visits is also the same prison used in CW's Arrow, the Arrowverse from 2012 to current, as the Iron Heights Penitentiary. So they were able to get that same set. Definitely, probably not called the same thing because those are 2 far different universes. But I like the catch there.
Mm-hmm. I love it when you can find sets or hear about sets being used in different movies or shows because like, oh hey, I've seen that before. Yeah, that's some good things. Let's get to the initial thoughts real quick. I went into this movie not expecting much. As a trailer, it didn't grab me when I watched it. Like it was just really like gray, bland looking, and I don't know. I didn't hate this though. I don't think it left much of an impression on me, but I didn't hate it. I had a little bit of fun with it.
Okay. I'm still not sure how to feel about this movie. There are some things in it that I like, but there's a lot of, or at least it's got a couple of different tones in it that play off each other in odd ways, and the whole movie is definitely different from anything I would have thought Venom, like the movie Venom, being.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still not sure whether I like it or whether I don't like it, or whether different is just inherently bad, or is it actually good, or is it just better for some people, whereas other people who are expecting other things is just long story boring. Sorry. I'm still not sure how I like it. It has a lot of different things happening in it, a lot of different tones that it's going for, and it's interesting, but I'm still uncertain on it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Chaz asked me at work the other day, did you like it? And he asked me today, and I told him this. It is a good movie if this was released around the time Spawn came out. It feels very much like a movie of that era, and it feels really out of place in the current like era of comic book movies.
Interesting.
We can jump into that here in a little bit. Ready for a synopsis?
Please.
Ahem. And this is one of my favorite ones in a while. I say that a lot, but this is a good one. Eddie Brock, having eaten some and left New York, is bigger and better than before. Now a hotshot reporter in San Francisco, he does some hard-hitting gotcha journalism to take down the man. Unfortunately, he's assigned to do a toned-down interview with his fiancé's employer's boss. It's a bit much. Eddie does what any journalist would do: compromise his fiance's job by bringing up confidential information during the interview to back the CEO into a corner. Of course, Eddie loses his job. His fiancée loses her job and divorces him. Well, I guess breaks up with him. And the CEO begins his evil experiments on the poor with the coronavirus goo. Gotcha! Hot take! Hashtag fake news.
Damn it.
Down in the dumps, Eddie is approached by the head scientist of these experiments instead of the police, hoping Eddie can stop the CEO somehow. Despite having no authority to do so, Eddie agrees and goes with her. He runs into his friend from the streets, who he lets out. The friend vomits some of the corona goo onto Eddie, and he gains both superpowers and a new best friend. The sludge provides the name Venom. Roll credits. He talks about taking over Earth, and Eddie panics. Going to his ex-fiancée for help, she gets him a doctor, and they call Venom a parasite, which he kind of takes offense at. He's more of a Gone Over the Wind fan, personally.
Oh my god.
He is separated from the symbiote just in time for hired goons to haul Eddie away to Mr. CEO guy. Venom, seen as to be a problem, bonds with the ex-fiancée to find Eddie. Now captured, Mr. CEO guy is revealed that he is also hosting a free-loading corona monster, and it's a riot. Eddie somehow escapes and is met by Miss Venom, who transfers the corona monster to Eddie. Eddie then goes after Mr. CEO guy, and they use their coronas, to fight as a rocket is prepping for launch, allowing the coronas to return to their homeworld and flood the Earth with corona. Are you tired of me saying corona yet? Venom defeats Riot, and both he and Eddie agree that they have more adventures on Earth. Tune in next time when Sony tries to prove to us just how much Jared Leto can really suck.
Aww. It's gonna be hilarious if by the time this video comes out, the coronavirus is either shown to be super hyped or actually have killed half the people on the planet. It'll be interesting either way.
So, okay, this is gonna be a tangent for a minute. Dude, so there's articles going around about people buying out toilet paper and water, yeah. And I'm sitting here okay, so coronavirus doesn't give you the shits, so I don't know what you guys are actually doing. If you just wash your hands, you're probably fine. So this seems a bit excessive. Just a bit. Just a little bit. And I get that, if you're older, have a compromised immune system, yes, you need to be more careful. I get that. But for the average person who's going to these Walmarts and Targets and buying a shit ton, no pun intended, of toilet paper, why? Just explain to me why? We're not getting Y2K again, guys. It's not going to happen. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Ryan, do you want to respond to that at all?
No, I strongly agree with you. I mean, I agree that it is alarming that it's showing up all over the planet, but also, the experts, the goddamn scientists are saying, guys, just wash your fucking hands, be conscious of what you touch, and you'll be fine. And I think people hearing about it on the news so much and saying, oh my god, it's another outbreak of this, and it showed up on this continent, and this, and everybody's starting to lose their fucking minds over it. I'm personally not that worried. I'll just keep avoiding illness like I normally do, and we'll keep it going. We'll keep it pushing.
I find it funny. I'm in people's houses every day and exposed to dust, germs, debris all the time. I'm fine. I don't get how I'm not having any issues, but yeah, no, it's weird. Sorry for the tangent, everybody, but just had to get out there. Wash your hands. By the way, Ryan, I made a joke on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, about how everyone's taking all this shit from the stores, and I bet you none of them are the ones none of them are people who wash their hands at all.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Guy walks out of the bathroom from the Hy-Vee, and he's like, oh, hey, I gotta buy me all this toilet paper so that way I can stock the house and shit. And everyone's like, did you wash your hands? Fuck that, that's for pussies. Alright, anyway, on to the movie now. Sorry about that, everybody. Ryan, did you like the movie? I know we talked about it a little bit already, but I know you were on the fence about it, but so where are your hang-ups at? Let's jump into it.
I think visually the movie does a lot of really good work. I think Venom looks imposing and really gross, but in a good way. I think the action set pieces that they do are really, really cool. And the ending fight between Venom and Riot is really good, particularly the shot where both the symbiotes like fly off of their hosts and like get bigger than life, and they do that cool ass slow motion scene. That's a killer shot. I will tip my hat to them. That was visually stunning. I was all for that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the quirky kind of failing at life, failing at life storyline behind both Eddie and Venom, and like how they're both kind of fuck ups, but they're like leaning on each other for support, and they're both gonna make it through this world. It's the most screwball buddy comedy / love story, and it doesn't feel like Venom. It feels different. It feels like they were definitely going for something different, and it's interesting. But I personally don't think of screwball buddy comedy when I think of me or Venom. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I grew up with Venom being like the villain and not a hero, so it's kind of weird to see him as anti-hero. And I know in the comics he becomes an anti-hero. He goes on different hosts and has many adventures and shit. Like, I'm not unfamiliar with that, but just as someone who grew up with like watching the Spider-Man cartoons and stuff like that, Venom's always a bad guy, and Venom's always this weird, stupid like drug analogy kind of thing, and a lot of that's kind of thrown out the window here for just like this, like you said, a buddy cop thing. And I think, on the grounds of what it is trying to be, this buddy cop thing, I think it's fine. I think it does a good job of what it's trying to be, but I think you're on the money where it doesn't feel like Venom proper. It doesn't feel like the weird alien monster we grew up with. You know what I mean?
Right. And so this is why I said is it inherently bad because it's different? I don't know. I think, like you said, in terms of what it was trying to do, it's definitely trying to do something different. But in terms of what it's going for, I think it does it well. I think that due to the success of the movie and the fact that it's getting a sequel, there are people that really enjoyed this spin on it. They're like I jokingly told one of my coworkers that this movie was made for Tumblr. It was made for people who are still on Tumblr, which is a dig at myself because I am still on Tumblr. But there were so many posts about how this movie was so great, and it was on Tumblr. So it's a movie for the weirdos, and that's cool. But
yeah.
But Venom though. but Venom. I don't know. So
I guess let me ask you this, Ryan. I don't know how familiar you are with the comics. I am vaguely familiar with Venom. I didn't read much of Venom stuff. What's the purpose behind Venom's character? And do you think this carried it all over into the film?
Ooh. Okay, so so comic book wise, we introduced Venom to essentially be the Dark Spider-Man. Of course, you give the symbiote to Peter first, have him tap into his darker instincts, and then when he ultimately rejects them, the symbiote finds Eddie Brock, who's Peter Parker's rival and is so fucking jealous of him, and then gives him powers comparable to Peter and makes him stronger and bigger and says, okay, go fuck this dude up. And so you get to see them really play out that kind of Dark Spider-Man story arc. And then I think that's how it originated. And then over the course of time, Venom becomes his own character. We start to really develop more of Eddie Brock just on his own. Now, I don't read the comics, but from what I've heard, the latest iteration of Eddie Brock was a soldier who was paralyzed in war, and then when bonding with the symbiote, he becomes Agent Venom, which of course gives him the use of his legs, but also like really delves into like his darker desires. Right? Am I incorrect on that?
I think that's pretty close. It might have been Flash Thompson, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Flash Thompson. Yes, Flash Thompson is the current iteration of Eddie Brock of Venom. Jesus.
Nope. You said it right the first time. He's wearing Eddie Brock's skin. It's Eddie Brock.
But I think in both of those iterations, it takes a character with darker internal impulses and gives them the power to act on those impulses. And his moral struggle on whether or not it's okay to give into those impulses serves as the basis for his entire arc over the story. That's what it reads as to me, and that's why he reads as a good anti-hero. Because all the cool-ass anti-heroes that you get are these guys with this badass demeanor and who have the power to completely dominate the people that are doing evil in this world. And then we question, well, if somebody who does evil to evil, doesn't that make him evil as well? And that's the whole moral gray area that anti-heroes exist in. This is not that. This is absolutely not that.
No, and Venom, the symbiote itself, in the original comics, as I already mentioned, is a reference to drug abuse. Basically, it's the substance abuse kind of thing that you see Spider-Man take it. He stops being himself. He realizes the issue and fights to get rid of it. It's a very poorly thrown together metaphor. It's a late 80s, early 90s comic, so it's not uncalled for. But
the name Venom really like sticks out like when you think about it like that.
Yep.
But yeah, he's taking this poison to be stronger, right?
Well,
right?
Well, and I mean, think about it too. What was Bane using? It was also called Venom. So yeah. I mean, it wasn't the most creative thing out there for sure. But that's essentially what the concept of Venom was made for. And now it's definitely evolved into its own thing. There's a whole planet of these fucking sludge monsters. Thor fought a goo monster god thing. So of course, like in the comics currently, we find out that the necro, I can't remember what it's called, but Gore the God Butcher was using an artifact called the Necro Sword, or the Necro Black or something like that. But this like black goo that could turn into like whatever weapon he used and that allowed him to fight on par with the gods. They've actually in the comics linked that to like the host planet of the symbiotes. So yes, that is actually connected. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the lore of Venom has gotten so ridiculous anymore that I couldn't tell you anything about it with any credibility. So when it comes to like carrying over at least what I'm familiar with, a lot of it's kind of lost. Like you can arguably say that Eddie in the early parts of this movie, when Venom first shows up, does kind of come off as someone who's a bit unhinged and a bit out of his mind. Someone you would the stereotypical things you see in a film to kind of represent a drug addict, even including the very tired look, the very paranoid attitude. But I think that's because it's played it for comedy. I don't think that's the intention they're going for. And so it definitely comes off as weird to me compared to what I would have expected.
Yeah. I mean, the concept of separating this from Spider-Man, I think, is definitely smart. So you can't have it be, oh, well, there was this one guy in New York that was my rival in photography, and I'm mad about it, so I moved to San Francisco. Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. But I think the core concept of having a character with darker impulses and then giving them the ability to go after those darker impulses, like that's what's been at the core of Venom's storyline. It's a like, and I feel like they intentionally went for something different. They intentionally went for something different here, and like it's different. I don't know if it's bad. My comic book nerd says it's bad because it's not the comic. But there are changes in the Christopher Nolan trilogy that aren't in the comics, and I thought they were fantastic. Like, Bane's not supposed to be smart or a tactical genius. What the fuck? Bane is supposed to use Venom to become super strong. He's not supposed to be a fucking swole ninja. What are you talking about?
Actually, in the Nightfall comic, they do show Bane out to be quite intelligent. He actually is responsible for releasing the villains from the prison and using them to wear down Batman before he actually goes on his approach. So there's a bit of tactician to him.
Okay. But still, I mean, there have been like elements of changing it from the source material.
Oh no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Story, and I liked those. I didn't personally latch on to this one, but it's possible that it just wasn't made for me, and I'm still wrestling with that.
Well, we've said that before, too, with the Homecoming movie, which, if you guys are listening, it should be linked somewhere around here, or you could find it somewhere else on the channel. No, so for Homecoming, we said the same thing, where the audience definitely felt like it was for a younger, more high school audience, versus, like, just the, 30 to 40-year-old comic book fans that we are now becoming this year. So, doesn't it feel great to be old, Ryan?
Yeah, hey, I'm not 30 yet. Actually, when you hear this, I will be 30. But right now, I'm not 30 yet.
Yep, and I'm a week behind him, basically. So, get ready, folks. Get ready. But no, yeah, I can feel what you're saying, though. This is probably for an audience that isn't us anymore. And I don't know who it's for. Because I don't want to say it's for new fans, but because of the type of humor it's going for, I almost want to say that maybe it is shooting for younger fans, because it also skipped the idea of going for an R-rated movie, which, for Venom, an R-rated movie would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But they went for, like, the PG-13 route, which is weird on paper, but if you are shooting for that younger, newer audience, it actually does make a lot of sense. It does track pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, for the overall tone that they went for in this movie, yeah, PG-13 makes more sense. Like, I can't imagine, like, this kind of quirky, like, screwball buddy comedy and then actually showing Venom biting people's heads off and, like, drinking their insides. Like, that would be jarring. That would be that would be some cognitive dissonance. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to that question here I got. Let's see, we're talking about Spider-Man without, or Venom without Spider-Man. You said it was a good idea. Let's see, let's jump on. How are the symbiotes portrayed differently from the comic shows, etc., and how do these changes work? Like, what changes in the characters? Well, I guess we tackled that a bit too, didn't we?
Yeah, I kind of just went through, like, the course of the movie with my gripe. And, like, my almost gripe, my half gripe.
You're fine.
A semi gripe.
Here's what you're doing, answer, Ryan. Smart guy. Let's see if you get this one. Why did Eddie's editor allow him to interview the CEO, knowing the type of investigative gotcha journalism he's known for? And what did he actually expect from this?
I think he expected the plot to move along. Honestly, I'm also looking at the question ahead of it. Like, this is also what I like the issue I have with him using the confidential files from his girlfriend, who we see them, they're head over heels for each other, goo goo eyes, like, great, like, fantastic, Michelle Williams. And then he just does something that, like, just has bad idea written all over it. Because either it means that he is stupid enough to think that there would be no backlash on her, or he just doesn't care and he's willing to blow up this loving relationship that he's in for the sake of the story. Neither of which have really been given to us from his character, and don't really get capitalized on, except just to accentuate that he's a bit of a fuck up. So I feel like that whole transition really just serves to move the story along, and you could have put some type of exposition in that and just fast forwarded to the 6 months later bit when his life is all fucked. Mm-hmm. I feel like that whole transition is the weak spot in the plot for me.
And it's funny, too, because it's, like, the core element of, like, why all things happen in the first place.
Yep.
And, I don't know, like you said, like I was thinking, Eddie's character is sort of poorly established in that first act, and when he goes from being this loving fiance to, oh, hey, I'm just going to steal these files and use this for my interview. It's like, dude, I don't even look at my girlfriend or my wife's. I'm still getting used to that. I don't even look at my wife's.
I still do.
I still don't even look at my wife's like computer stuff. The only time I ever like glance at it is when I'm like looking over her shoulder and like talking to her and just kind of seeing what's going on. But like if she's got something that's open just sitting there, I'm not gonna look at it. It's her shit, yeah. If she wants me to look at it, she'll have me come over and look at it. Your fiance Eddie is a lawyer who deals with a lot of confidential bullshit. You probably shouldn't touch it.
It's particularly not glaring, not documents that have like big ass red letters saying confidential, like bold and printed over like the top of them. It's just like I said earlier, either he was stupid enough to think that the blowback wouldn't affect his girlfriend, or he was callous enough to be like, I don't care. I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be endeared to this guy if either of those cases are true. So it's just for the sake of convenience, I suppose.
Yeah, you can definitely get a feel like there's more emphasis on plot than character for this movie, and that kind of goes away once Venom's introduced. You can kind of the buddy cop thing going on, but
it takes a long fucking time. By the way, if you want to talk about pacing, it
does. The pacing is pretty atrocious for about half, if not more, of the movie. It drags, and you don't get the best stuff until near the end, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to drag it out that much when the first act, like we've said, is not very good. It's very poorly put together. I don't know. It's a lot of red flags for me, I think, in that regard. Next one I got here is, okay, here's an interesting question, because I saw a line spoken by the CEO early in the film. Probably, like, in the middle act when he's talking to his, like, science team. And the way he said it and the way a certain word is emphasized, I thought he was already in a symbiotic relationship with Riot. I thought it was already happening. But that didn't end up being the case. It has something to do with, like, you know, what we are working on, and the we was highly emphasized. Like, I had the subtitles on. The we was fucking italicized. Like, it was like trying to red flag saying, hey, he's already a symbiote. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's cool. The Riot's the one really planning all this stuff. And then we find out Riot is actually separated from him and just coming to him at the end of the movie. I'm like, oh, so what was that?
So this guy was just a fucking creep from the jump. All right.
Yep. So my question to you then is this, Ryan. Would him having been part of Riot from the beginning improve the narrative flow? Why or why not?
I don't think so, because while Riz Ahmed's character is established to be a fucking psycho and a creep from the beginning, he ultimately has the goal to, like, do good for humanity, just, like, in his own fucked up way. As soon as Riot actually shows up, he's just like, I want my symbiote, and then I want to eat this world, all right? That's the whole thing. I want my symbiote, and I want to eat everything. And at that point, Riz Ahmed didn't care, because he had the symbiote, and the symbiote's like, bitch, I'll take you to space. And he's like, all right, sure, let's go. So yeah, I don't think having Riot from the jump would have changed how that guy went about his plan.
Yeah, and I think if you did that, you'd have to change Riot from wanting to just eat the world to wanting to, like, maybe take over the world with the symbiote bonding and everything. But I don't know. I think you could have done interesting with that, especially because it would have been a very interesting twist. But having it the way they did it just felt kind of less interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Man, we're rolling through these questions real quick. Last one I got here. Do you want a future Venom film? Do you even want a future... let me back up. What would you want in a future Venom film? Do you even want a future Venom film? And how could it tie into Spider-Man down the road?
That is the big question. as it stands right now, I do not know how you tie the mix of tones that we've gotten in this film with what's been established for Spidey in the MCU. I don't know how you have Tom Hardy's Venom working alongside or clashing with Tom Holland's. Hey, we're two Toms. With Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I feel like the tones achieved by both are too different, in my opinion. So I think if they were to keep it separate, then they might be able to do something interesting. I mean, they've got Morbius coming out, which is going to be Sony's attempt to do something different and dark and edgy with it. And so that existing in the same universe as Venom, I can see it. I can definitely be down with it. But then you throw the Vulture in there from Homecoming, and you're like, wait, but what? And I don't really know how to feel yet. I honestly do not know how to feel when they inevitably mix because money. So yeah, I don't know yet.
Well, so we're going to talk about it when we get to the Far From Home. But the sequel to Venom, if they decide to tie them together, would probably take place after the reveal of who Spider-Man is to the whole world. So there is something to that. I don't want to dive too deep into that concept right now because it's something that would be a good conversation for that episode. But it's a very different state we've not seen Spider-Man in film. So that opens up opportunities for these kind of crossovers that you wouldn't expect, I would think. The hard part is just how do you get Venom, who is now located in San Francisco, to New York? Because I guess I know you can move Spider-Man around. He was in fucking Europe and all that stuff, but at the heart and core of what Spider-Man is, he's a New York kid.
He's New York.
His powers are best in New York. Anywhere else, he's gonna have mixed results. And I don't see any reason why Peter would go to L.A. that isn't contrived and silly. So,
well, I mean, they've already tied in the fact that Eddie was originally from New York, so circumstances can pull him back to New York. Yeah, that's not too hard.
So Venom's gonna have to come to New York at some point, somehow. How, I don't know. Not important. What's important is how you get these two to clash, because Venom's pretending to be a hero, and I don't know how you get. I don't know how you manufacture that fight. Carnage is supposed to be coming up, and that might be how you do it. But then the question is, how do you get Carnage to New York?
Right. Also, the big thing for me personally is that I think this would work better as an adult Spider-Man villain, or an adult Spider-Man thing to go against. I can't see teenage Peter Parker, even though his identity had just been revealed. I don't see high school Spider-Man being able to or clashing well with fucking grown ass man Tom Hardy and Venom.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if they decide to bring it, then I would probably say, let's pick it up, or let's do it in a while once Tom Hardy takes it to once Tom Holland actually takes it to adult college level Spidey.
There's too many Toms. There's too many Toms.
There are too many Toms. There are too many Chris's.
Okay, so let me pitch this to you. We know what happened in the last trilogy of Spider-Man. The third movie, they shoehorned in Venom and they forced it down our throats, and it didn't work. Certain parts of it were interesting, but overall it didn't work. We have a third Spider-Man movie coming up. We don't know who the villain's gonna be. My hope is that they get Jason Momoa to play Kraven the Hunter, because it'd be pretty baller.
That would be dope.
And considering Spider-Man's identity being revealed, that would literally be one of the best villains to make use of that. But knowing Sony and knowing all this stuff, and I know Marvel's in charge of the creative stuff to an extent. I have a horrible feeling that Sony's going to try to shovel in some Venom reference in this third movie. I just know it. I can feel it in my bones. So I don't think we're far off from it happening. It's just a matter of how and when. It's going to either be this next Venom movie or this next Spider-Man movie. I can just feel it.
I'm going to be the optimist because I feel like that would be fucking disastrous. I don't think they're going to do that. I think Kevin Feige has a much... I think Kevin Feige and the guys behind the MCU have shown much more foresight than that. So I don't think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot that obviously.
Maybe.
I will be the optimist on that.
I'll let you be the optimist. I will just assume the worst is going to happen. I assume
we trade off that role so often. It's fine.
We do. My assumption is going to be that Tom gets the coronavirus and the movie's going to be canceled. We're never going to see these movies again. Which Tom, I don't know. You just take a guess. Go for it, guys. Just write it down in the comments below, or you can email us. Ryan, where can they email us their guesses as to which Tom is going to contract some horrible disease?
They can email that to like a bird in the wind. Excuse me. Sorry. Can't clear my throat. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
Indeed. So, yeah, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, all that stuff as well. Patreon, you can also go there. Exclusive stuff, exclusive shows, and of course, exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff. All worth checking out.
Exclusives.
Exclusives, just like J. Jonah Jameson would have done. Final thoughts. Let's wrap this one up real quick. I know we're only 41 minutes in, and I know this is shorter than I think anything else this season, guys. But to be real, to be completely honest, I might just jump into my bit real quick. The Venom movie lacks substance. There's a lot of really interesting ideas, and there's a lot of things that could have worked in a different time period. Like I had mentioned earlier to Chaz, and I reiterate to you, this movie would have felt right at home in the late 90s, early 2000s. Because the CGI is not bad, but it definitely isn't like the biggest deal. Like, it's not super great. The goofy, oozy stuff feels very similar to those gooey, oozy stuff I've seen before. The writing feels very much like something you'd see from like an old Blade or an old X-Men movie. The action, while not bad, definitely feels more of your like cartoonishly like over the top stuff then. Whereas now they try to ground it in a little bit more realism, so to speak. I don't know. I feel like overall it feels like a movie that's like out of place, out of time, and it's not bad, but it feels like it's just not a movie that in 2020 or when it came out in 2018, it just feels very off, especially when you compare it to its contemporaries, like Avengers, and even the DC films, to an extent, feel very different from this, and I don't know what that really is. I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it, but it just feels off to me. You know what I mean, Ryan?
Yeah, I hear that.
So we'll rate the movie real quick. I've been all over the place in this one. Like I said, I don't hate it, but I don't think it's super good either. I would say low bronze to high stone, just on the grounds that you could probably skip it and not miss anything. It's not anything too revelatory. It's not anything too spectacular. But you're not going to really necessarily be wasting your time either. You'll probably get a good laugh or two and all that, but if you don't need to see it, I wouldn't see it.
Okay, that's fair. While I don't necessarily agree with your concept of the time period, I'm not sure this really would fit alongside like the stuff we would have gotten like with like Spawn and whatnot, like early 90s, especially because I think they would have been less forgiving of turning the badass contemporary of Spider-Man into just a fuck up that can't get his life together. In the early 90s, they would have been like, no, he needs to be badass and he needs to be tearing people apart limb from limb. We absolutely, like, if we got Spawn, then we can definitely do this with Venom. So I think this is different in those terms. Like you, I don't think it's inherently bad. I think they were trying for some interesting stuff that didn't necessarily cater to what I was looking for out of it. Doesn't mean it was inherently bad, but I do also think, like you said, the story lacks any particular substance for me. The weak points in the plot and writing, the various contrivances to try and get the plot to the point where they can finally Venom and do the goddamn thing and get the buddy cop dynamic rolling took really, really long and was fairly irritating until it actually got steam and started rolling. Interesting attempts, interesting ideas to do something different. I don't think it particularly lands. Some people liked it. I wanted a little more out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a stone.
I feel bad giving it a stone, but I don't know.
It's not an inherently bad movie. It's just, eh.
And while we're at it too, Ryan, I think we talked about it in one of the pre-rolls, but I want to make it official in an actual like public episode, if I may.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a few months ago we talked about a movie that we both really liked, but we didn't like it enough to give it a higher ranking. It was a movie that at first we're like, this is still fun. It's weirdly not great, but fun. And in the time since then, which a recording's been about 3 months now, news articles and headlines and changes to like backstory behind the movie just keep coming out and saying like all these different things that weren't in the movie that should have been in the movie, and they changed things left and right. I'm sitting here like, why the fuck was this movie even released if you're not going to have all this information or cut all this information that could have been important? So, on an official public episode of the After Credits Cast, I am retroactively changing a ranking of a movie that I gave, because fuck you, Disney, and fuck you, Abrams. I don't know if you guys were I don't know if you were directly involved in Abrams. I don't know. I am changing my rank of Rise of Skywalker, Ryan.
Wow.
We gave
unprecedented.
Gave it a pity bronze. Gave it a pity bronze. But no pity for me anymore. Y'all fucked up. Y'all keep fucking up. I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna give it an even lower ranking now. I'm gonna give it dirt.
Oh my god.
I'm giving it dirt.
Wow.
Yeah,
y'all really pissed Aaron off. Oh my goodness.
If they would stop coming out with a new article every goddamn week to tell me what wasn't in the movie, I would probably have just ignored it. But nope. I'm tired of it. You're getting dirt for me, and if you keep this up, it might go lower. I'll invent new ranks to go lower, bitches. I'll do it.
Well, I won't change my ranking. While the news stories of like what should or wasn't in the movie keep coming out, and they're definitely annoying. It doesn't change how I initially felt about the movie. If anything, like it makes it sad because of the wasted potential. But I was already sad about the wasted potential, so it's just like. Yeah, you could have done it better. I'm glad that there are others who are agreeing with me and are uncovering cool stuff that could have been. So maybe one day when we invent the technology to travel between alternate realities, we'll go to the reality where like the what the fuck was it gonna be called? Fucking Duel of the Fates. Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. We'll go see that together, and it will be fantastic. But for now, we just have to accept the subpar movie that we got.
You know what it probably is? I bet you so we need some Pym particles to prove it, but I imagine if we go to the timeline where Hillary Clinton won, the not darkest timeline, we would have gotten Duel of the Fates.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yep. So hear me out, folks. I am blaming Trump for getting us Rise of Skywalker, the shittiest Star Wars movie so far.
Golly.
I'm exaggerating. It's probably not as bad as Attack of the Clones. It really isn't. But I'm just salty as shit. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.
Spider-Man, up next on the podcast line. Peter's out after 3, thing gets rebooted by Sony. Look out, another Spider-Man. Leave a like, hit subscribe, if you can dig on the spot. Can you donate to our sub? $1 would be enough. And thus, it's the After Credits Cast.